She was. All my friends. I'm just old. I'm way out. I can fix it. That's the one I like. I like the So, do that for me.
Take care of the rest of the tree. I might live longer. This meeting is not the rest of the tree. I down on the apple tree. So I haven't done it. You're paying me.
Okay, that's right.
I thought
Well, it's the printing.
Plus it's silver leaf.
All right.
You've been to a meeting before?
Brayton is doing us a solid, and he's going to bring up a rear after we begin with the sheets. So, how'd I do on time? 7:29, okay. And you hold it to Karen whenever you.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, well, let's bring the October 6, 2022 Webster Town Board meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dolly, if you could do roll. Here.
Councilman Abbott?
Here.
Councilwoman Crowley? Present. Councilman Cahill?
Here.
Councilwoman Lynn? Here. County Attorney Domestic?
All right, well, our first item tonight is a proclamation. I'm going to go over to the podium and ask the family to come up. This is a proclamation honoring a past town board member, Richard Prinzing, who passed a few weeks ago. And the Prinzing family is here tonight, or several of them, so I'm going to come up to the podium. And for full disclosure, I am classmates with Tim Prinzing and his wife Betty, Liz, there we go. And then, obviously the sisters here are much younger than Tim. But there's 5 Prinzings altogether, right? Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to read this off. And then I certainly want to hand over the mic to the family if you want to do this, okay? This is a proclamation in the memory of Richard Prinzing. Whereas Richard exhibited empathy and kindness early in his life by caring for all Webster citizens, his devotion and endless hours cannot be measured. And whereas in the 1970s, Richard joined the Webster Fire Department as a firefighter, he put his life in danger to help others every day. And whereas Richard continued his service for the town of Webster in 1972 through 1980 when he was elected as a Webster town councilman. A few of the projects Richard was involved in was developing town playgrounds, the growth of North Ponds Park, which is now the Charles Sexton Memorial Park. And he helped to make the Webster Public Library a larger facility for the Webster residents. And whereas in the 1990s, Richard worked for the Union Hill Fire Department as a first responder driver, he became a Union Hill Fire Department board member from 1996 to 2000 and served again in 2004 to 2009. And whereas Richard also served as a board member of the Northeast Quadrant Advanced Life Support starting January 1st, 2006, and stayed in that position for over a decade. He transitioned to board member emeritus on November 11, 2020, and served as a board member and treasurer for a brief time. Richard was also influential in 2016 in the conception of Webster Emergency Medical Services. And whereas the town of Webster could not have had a better advocate than Richard, we thank Richard for his dedication and all the sacrifices he made for the community of Webster. We thank his family for allowing him to give of his time so generously. Now therefore be resolved in memory of Richard Prinzing, the supervisor of the town of Webster, on behalf of the Webster Town Board and the entire Webster community, extend our sincerest thank you for a life of self-sacrificing devotion.
Thank you all, and thank you. This was very kind, to be very pleased. He told my brother a couple months ago that one of his favorite times of his life was being on the town council. And he would spend lots of hours, loved it, would have kept doing it if he could have. So this means a lot. Thank you very much.
Well, do you want us to get in front of where the white? Come on over here. That's the better one. All right, we'll do that at the backdrop. Jim will get you. I didn't say that.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 1 more. Here. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So is that all we had on the agenda tonight? It's done.
Looks like it.
Is that it? I don't think so.
I'm hoping that when we reflect on our past, it is remembered this is our favorite times as well.
Eddie? Well said. And I will just say, honestly, you know, having known and gone to school with Tim Prinzing, knowing the family, some of the nicest people I've ever going to meet. So. Now, our next item up is a public hearing. And it's a hearing for local law number 3, proposed local law number 3, to provide the codification of the local laws, ordinances, and certain resolutions into municipal code to be designated the code of the town of Webster. Before I put the gavel down and have people come up to the podium, I will say Barb Scott, who is down at the far end there, next to Paul Adams, our finance director. Barb, you were the town clerk for 20 years? Okay. And she retired at the end of June of 2020. We hired her back a week later, and the reason why we hired her back in a part-time role was to be the project manager, project leader of this code update. And she'll articulate it better than I will. It's funny because she retired 6 months after I became supervisor. I immediately liked Barb. I won't get into all the reasons, whatever. But she said to me, as she was about to retire, you know, the one regret I have is that I was not able to, because I was busy with tax receivership and all that, is to really get to the finish line, this update of the code project. And that kind of spawned the idea of, well, what about if we brought you back in a part-time role as a project leader? And here we are, I guess, 27 months ago, and we're at this stage of the process. It's been a long and winding road. So with that being said, and I think anybody who's here tonight to talk and have questions or whatever might be very interested in how this all came about. But with that being said, I'm going to open the public hearing. And from the sign-in list, Mr. Aragi,
Yes,
would you like to speak?
I will make a few words.
Please, by all means, up to the podium.
I've sent many checks.
In the past.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, and if you can give your name and your address,
yes.
that'd be great.
My name is Mehdi Aragi. I'm a 42-year resident of West Webster. I live on 906 Gilbert Road. And I've been to a few meetings, but I'm reasonably quiet, I guess. I don't make noise. But one of the things that I have is I have an acre of land behind my house, which is down the slope. And I've always wanted to keep it green and not develop it just because it has these old growth trees. I also have about 700 or 800-year-old oaks in my yard. So my interest in nature and open space, of course, is green space, is that we should preserve it. Now, with the idea of having not only green space that exists also, buying for land like it was before for the town, more green space. I was not happy to see the suggestion that we repeal that particular code that is that to keep the green space. So I wanted to actually say that it's better to keep it, modify it so that it's better than before, than just getting rid of it. Because if you get rid of it, then you have to work on making a substitution for it in the future, and it's not as easy to bring it in than just to modify it. That's my 2 cents worth, and I would actually like to keep my acre as forever green, forever wild. And since a lot of animals around there come and eat our grass and trees, so that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. In a public meeting, public hearing a couple weeks ago, we had 30 people take the podium. I don't think that's what we have tonight. We waited to answer all the questions to the end. But I get the feeling from the last couple of days, emails, phone calls I've gotten from my office, board members have gotten, there's some misconception about what is in this code cleanup when it pertains to this one article on green space. Barb, would you mind?
Do you want me to, can I stay right here?
Sure, the microphone's on.
The open space chapter, the repeal was that the town did repeal in 2010. They repealed a program that the town had where if you had a large lot with a lot of acreage, you could put part of it into an open space program and your taxes would be reduced, basically because your assessment is reduced. And you would sign a contract with the town that you wouldn't develop the land. That program is still gone. The whole reason that the chapter repealed documentation about the open space program was at the request of the assessor because there were a couple of different properties that were in the program and they decided to be removed from the program, and the town really needed that chapter in there that showed what do we do when a property decides to be removed from it. And that was taken out in 2010.
Yes.
So the assessor asked that we put it back in so people would understand what that procedure was. So the program is still gone. The town no longer does have that open space program.
Yeah, and, well, I don't know what else to add to that except for, certainly it doesn't mean the town and the town board is against open space.
Correct.
This is cleaning up the code in a lot of ways pure and simple. And I think there was a lot of
And correct me if I'm wrong, the town does still have other open space programs.
Yes, it does.
We have conservation agreements and different things like that when we
And
did our green space many years ago.
I don't even, I mean, it was local law number 2 from 2010. It's 12 years ago. I know that Bill and Patty have been on the board for 12 years. I mean, it's a long time ago. Donna's not here, our assessor. Why it got discontinued, I don't know, but it did. And there's other ways to have green space preserved. This one got discontinued, this mechanism. So anyway, I hope that sheds some light on this. Mike Tulio.
I'm good, no thanks.
You gonna pass? Okay. Diana Davis. Hi.
I don't know if you guys got our email.
We did.
Did you? Did everybody
Yeah.
get the letter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did
Put it out as a
did
copy.
we just talk about it, Barbara and I?
I've got a bit more to add.
Well, then jump up there,
Okay.
Diana. You got 5 minutes.
All
And
right.
you know my Diana Davis. She's gonna eat it all up.
So just from what you said, we as a group, as an open space committee, very aware that this program was something that lapsed in 2010. As far as I understand it, it's because the way that our code was worded for it fell afoul of like state regulations. Parenton does still have one that is continuing to be successful, and just to dot my i's and cross my t's, I actually spoke with somebody from the Parenton planning department today, just to sort of get his perspective on, how that's working out for them, and, what the sort of differences might be. From my sort of non-expert examination of the two different codes, what I could see was that Parenton phrased it as a permanent conservation easement, that the town is essentially acting as like steward for, right? The same kind of get out clause existed as what we had when we had ours, but according to him, he doesn't really see that as happening ever. Like people, when they opt into it as a conservation easement, and it's been particularly successful for properties that would be developable, so like not things that aren't going to be developed anyway, but a way of preserving green space in properties that would otherwise, you're going to see so much development pressure on it, the town wouldn't be able to compete with the developer on paying, but the tax benefits, and it obviously takes a willing landowner, that ends up being something which is viable. So, I mean, our standpoint is we're not, as a sort of group, and I guess probably, I don't know, what sort of communication you've got from what residents that may or may not have understood this was already a defunct program. But what we're sort of saying is, look, like what Mehdi said basically, this is a great opportunity to revise it, or at least talk about revising it, and think about, having that as a tool in the toolbox. I mean, if we're talking about, I know when we were talking about some of the properties on our sort of, tabled list right now, right, that we were looking at in terms of like a potential referendum, some of those properties, it starts to add up, it starts to get expensive, but a lot of those properties were in this open space thing, which is expiring in, 5 years. I just think, let's not be hasty. There's no reason to take it out of the code without at least having a public hearing. I guess this is the public hearing about it, but a public hearing about maybe implementing a new one. I feel like we would have a lot of success with that, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything, which is, I think, pretty crucial. But it ends up leaving you with quite a lot of open space. Right now, on the open space preserved lands map on the town, I think we've got something like close to 500 acres in this program that are going to be vulnerable for development, and we're going to face the sort of, well, do you lose it, or does the town use taxpayer dollars to obtain those almost 500 acres? I think 2028, there might be a couple that are 2032, but I mean, that's just a few years from now. And in fact, some of the properties that we're still with the Friends of Webster Trails in our group are trying to sort of pursue independently acquiring, which, Tom, we have to have a meeting about at some point. Those are in the tax thing, which are expiring. So again, it just kind of speaks to that point that this is just another tool in the toolkit. And I just think it's such a big part of an open space preservation program, and talking to the gentleman in Parenton, it's really successful for them. I just think it's something worth considering rather than just dismissing it outright as part of other defunct areas of the code. Because like Mehdi said, once it's gone, it's a lot harder to put back in. So, that's where I'm coming from with that.
You did it
Okay.
in 5 minutes. That was great, Diana.
I'm pretty impressed with myself.
You should be.
All right,
I,
do it.
and Barbara, the best way I can explain this is, this was a code cleanup project. And an update project, I guess, things that hadn't gotten a general code.
Yeah, the law that you're talking about, I mean, the program, has been gone since 2010.
Yeah. And I just, thank you. And here's the thing, and I've tried to communicate this in different articles, emails, anybody that'll listen to me. This is a step process. We have to clean up stuff from the last 5, 7 years, I would say, Barbara, maybe
5
longer.
or 7 years?
Oh, it's going back, well, one of the things we're getting rid of is the water department in our code.
No,
Anybody
some
know
of
when
the-
we had a water department last?
No, some of them was that the chapters we removed were from 1970s.
Right. I'm
We
sorry.
talked about
So-
how big a sign of, like, how much is your gas?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with town government.
Right, so this, if you really read the 2 years and 3 months that Barbara's been working with the 15 department heads and all that, this is a cleanup, get it updated, because once we can do that, and Josh, you've already kind of dipped your toe into the pool of this, new codes, augmented codes, like setbacks and fence heights and whatever. That was kind of our maiden voyage to see, because once we get through this process, then we can start looking at things like what you're talking about, Diana. And when you talk about new codes and new for the future type stuff, I can assure you, you'll be right back at that podium, I don't know, in a few months or whatever, for the public hearing on that, which you should be.
I like the table in that little room better than the podium. Table would be nice. Coffee.
Oh, the Webster room. Now, unfortunately, we don't hold board meetings here, but thank
You
you.
know what I mean? All right,
And
well, I
last-
said my piece. I think it is ideologically significant, that part of the code, and I'm just putting it out there, so.
No, thank you. Absolutely, thank you. Dave Jenkins, you signed in on this one. Is this?
Yeah, I
one
got a couple quick ideas if you don't mind.
Come on up. For the record, Mr. Jenkins and I have not seen each other at the coffee shop, and we have not had any discussions about this code update project. Is that correct, Dave?
That's correct.
Okay.
I know who you are. Good morning, good afternoon, I'm sorry, good evening, something like that. So anyhow, I'd like to know what you're gonna put into the code, as soon as you have the verbiage written up, what's gonna replace it. That's something I don't see. Does that make any sense?
For
Am
what?
I missing something?
For what?
You're gonna
area?
clean up the code, and then you're gonna replace it with something?
When we talk about cleanup, the code is still 700 pages.
Yeah.
And when we talk about cleanup, I don't know, I'm guessing that the public hearing announced what was being removed. So there's many chapters that were removed, and then I don't know if the Schedule A was published. Was it published?
Yeah.
So there's a document, it's 45 pages long, and it tells all the changes.
I gotta find that, okay, okay. Well anyhow, personally, I have almost an acre, and since Sandy came through, blew down some of my trees, blew down 20 trees from the neighbor's yard onto my yard. They had 1 3/4 acre yard, and I dealt with him on how to clean it up. It was just a bunch of junk with the deer litter. Deer been there longer than I have. The point is, in the last 15 years, it's gotten a lot windier. I have 2 huge maples. I am working on getting torn down and then replacing them with other trees. It won't make up for the leaf area immediately, but I'm trying to be responsible about it. And the point I'm trying to make is I think everybody that owns anything with a plan on it should have a responsibility to take and try to keep it green, keep the area green that they now own. Number one. Number two, the town should try to help people do this. There is a course you can go down to Cornell and take. It's a 3-day course, you gotta pay for the course, you gotta pay to stay overnight. And it teaches people tree for tree, how to remove a tree over so many acres or yards or whatever, which trees are important, which are not. And you gotta remember, trees don't know where the line between the neighbors are. There's trees. And this course teaches you to look at the whole issue and the small issues, and what to take out, what not to take out. Perhaps the town could afford to send a couple of councilmen, people to this course where they can go out and make part of the planning department. I'm doing this off the top of my head, that's why I'm a little bit. Point being is, I think we need to help people know how to go tree for tree, leaf for leaf in their own yard, and protect their yard from the wind that's happened in the last few years. Again, Sandy came through, killed me the neighbor. And didn't kill any deer, we didn't find any bodies. So, that point being is, I think the town needs to help people be responsible for the space they own.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, and that was all the people who signed up to speak on the code update project. Unless anybody on the dais has anything to say, I'm going to close out the public hearing. We are not voting on this tonight. I think this is something that the earliest we could vote on this is October 27th.
Do you mind if
So,
schedule
without further ado, this,
Don, we don't know how to get a hold of Schedule A. Can you tell us where to find it?
okay, Dave Jenkins just asked from the crowd how to get a hold of Schedule A, the 45 pages. It is on our website, is that correct? Dolly, I don't know if you can read off, or it's on our website, yeah.
It is?
Town clerk's website. It was referenced in the legal notices when we did the announcement and the posting of this public hearing. Am I right in assuming, did Ms. Davis leave?
I'm right here, sorry.
Did you find that 45 pages?
I did.
Good for you.
You have to go under the documents, so it's like
Yeah.
meeting documents, it's not on the actual.
Could you go to the podium,
Right.
because people
And-
can't.
Yes, thank you.
What you're saying.
You want to explain it?
Town website, main page, top blue tab that's marked public hearings, you will find all the documents for all the public hearings tonight.
Yep.
Including the 45 one.
Thank you, Karen.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and Dolly McGuire, town clerk extraordinaire, left her seat and gave Mr. Jenkins an actual hard copy, paper, of those 45 pages. With that being said, this public hearing is.
Wait.
Thank you.
One behind the podium, you can't see.
Sorry, our David Lake didn't get a chance to sign it. Is that okay?
Charlie, how do I whatever? So I open it back up? No?
It's continuous.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Dorothy Faith, 742 Hightower Way. So I just wanted to,
I'm sorry, can you say that again, your name and your address?
Dorothy Faith,
Dorothy Fate.
742 Hightower Way. So I just also wanted to indicate that I thought that leaving it in is a prompt to us to go back and look at this and rework it and see how we could make it work for the town of Webster. I hear often from the planning board statements about their philosophy that we can't tell people not to sell their land. They need to be able to sell their land. I believe that if people got to the point where they were, that it was a financial stretch for them, that just having that tax abatement to maintain their property as green might be incentive enough that they wouldn't have to sell their property to developers. So I think leaving it in is a prompt for us to say, yes, we need to go back and rework this program. Yeah, I get that this one isn't, was repealed, I get that. But it's a good tool, and I think we need to have a prompt to keep us on track, to have as many ways to deal with people and the need for, to continue a program like this that would help people maintain their open and green space. Thanks.
Thank you, Dorothy. I now have, I'm a little nervous.
You're okay.
Is there anybody else behind the infamous beam? This public hearing is now closed.
Yeah.
That is at 7:58. Great. All right. We're just getting started, gang, because we have another public hearing. This is a public hearing on the establishment of a progressive development district overlay, a PD, for the proposed northeast area for Technology Industrial Park on T4 Road. Well, that's good. I guess we're going to have the first person at the podium be Mr. Cox from Pastor, maybe explaining what this is will help if anybody else wants to talk about it. So I'm going to open the public hearing.
Good evening, board members. I'm David Cox, the Pastoral Associate, civil engineer for the project. I figured if I went first, I might be able to answer some questions that might be coming up. So this is for a project that's a 100-plus acre property along Basket Road. And it goes all the way and touches 104, and then in the rear lot of Basket Road. It is one of the very few, if not only, 100-plus acre property, zoned industrial, with rail access in Monroe County. So it is a very, very unique property that has a lot of potential to bring jobs and new companies to Webster here. And it is zoned industrial, so that means that the town, as part of the town comprehensive plan, has designated this property in this area as industrial. So they say, out of the town, this is the area that we want industrial use. So that's what we're looking at here. And this is just the very, very beginning of the process through the town with this. So this is going through the PDD process, which the town suggested that we go through the PDD process, just to help people kind of understand that. So first we start with the town board. The town board gets to look at it, and then after go through the public hearings and have public comment, if the PDD gets approved, then we would move on to the planning board. We would start that process. They would also have public hearings and allow comment and development with agencies and things like that. And that would just be for preliminary. So we'd be looking at a preliminary overall approval. And then once we get preliminary approval, then we actually would go with final. Once we have, a specific user, a specific building, a specific company, then we come back before the board and still have more public hearings and go through that whole process. So before anything gets built, it's probably at least a year process, and we're just starting here. So there is lots of public hearings at each step of the way, lots of process to follow through the town. The reason we're starting now is a lot of companies, when they're looking for new space, they don't say, hey, I'd like to move into something 2.5 years ago or 3 years from now, because if it takes us a year to go through the town process, and then construction takes another 1.5 or 2 years, I mean, we're really thinking out, going out pretty far. So most companies, they want to be shovel ready or be able to move in much more quickly. So we're trying to determine right now, what are our seeker thresholds and limits, how much building square footage, how much parking, drainage. We kind of look at all those environmental factors as part of this process to kind of outline the project, so that we have an idea of who we can market to and what kind of companies would be suitable for the project. So that's the long-winded kind of process. So what we're currently looking at is around 1.4 acres, or 1.4 million square feet of industrial space. We're hoping the developer is really focusing on, companies that would create jobs in Webster. He's a longtime resident here in Webster and wants to see, job creation, something that's really going to benefit Webster. So right now we're estimating, roughly 4 buildings, but it could be a mix and match of different size buildings. And like I said, this is just more conceptual. As we get further along in the process, going through the site plan approval process, that plan will get, kind of tweaked and modified and things like that. So yeah, I think that's kind of the overview, and I can answer any questions the board has, or I can step down and let any public.
Dave, thank you, and we don't have anybody from the public that signed in to speak on this tonight. Is there anybody out there in the audience tonight, attendees who wants to take the podium on this? Okay. Any questions, comments from, I beg your pardon? I think I do. Well, then this public hearing is officially closed. And that is at 8:04. Nice catch there, Deputy Supervisor. Does any of the town board members have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions or comments because this is the second time I've seen this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for anyone who hadn't tuned in before, we've been aware of this and looked at it previously. And we're just going through the process.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can do the resolution.
Yeah, to me, I don't see why, Charlie, we can do the resolution to issue. So, here. That's the wrong one. Here we go. Well, then I am going to make a motion on the Webster Town Board to approve the development plan lands on the east side of Bassett Road, north of State Route 104 and west of County Line Road, known as tax account numbers 066.03-1-28.113, 066.03-1-28.111, 066.03-1-28.11, and 066.03-01.20.1 as a progressive development overlay district PDD.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn. Aye. Councilwoman Chalby.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Move forward. Great. All righty. Next up, well, podium's hot, I guess, is the open to the floor. Anybody from the audience who wants to speak on the podium for up to 5 minutes? We didn't have a sign-up sheet out there, so being fair, I guess I'll pan across the room from my right. Is there anybody, as I move across, that wants to take the podium to talk about anything their heart desires? Doesn't look like anybody.
I mean, I can say one more thing really quick.
Ryan, I would expect nothing less.
Okay, sorry. It just occurred to me, so when I was talking to,
And for the record, that's Diana Davis, and she lives at, we know her from the past. Okay. Have at it, Diana.
okay, yeah, so.
What's your name again?
Mary. So when I was talking to Parrington today, we kind of we were just chatting, and we got onto the subject of their comprehensive plan update, and we hear this a lot, like, right, that the comprehensive plan is like the way to go. It gives you kind of like a remit for preserving open space, and all of that is great. One thing that he said, because I was asking like, well, how did you guys go about getting like public input, right? Because I know that we've got our survey and we've had it up, the thing at the library, and I just wanted to know like, what their sort of process had been. And he did say, I mean, take it or leave it, they did one of those things where they sent a postcard around to all the residents. I mean, obviously that cost a few grand, but he also said that their survey had something like, 75 questions on it, and I was just sort of a little bit, I'm sure that there was a rationale for the number of questions that went on ours, but it did seem to me that it could have been a little bit more expansive. I don't know if there are going to be, so further opportunities for public input into the comprehensive plan process, if there are going to be public committees, anything like that. I'm just giving you that perspective from Parenton, because as you know, I do think the more input, the better. And I just thought that maybe some of those would be things to think about. I don't know what kind of response Webster has gotten from the public on the questions that were on the survey. I personally felt like the questions were fairly restrictive and kind of guiding. But, so that's just yeah, just on that, just to speak to
Well,
that.
Diana, I gotta take the bait, okay?
Oh,
Just
okay.
you were,
Did I bait you? I'm sorry.
I'm really disappointed, you don't read my articles, see, I figured for sure you read my articles.
I read them all, it's
Yeah.
like slipping, the last one slipping my mind right now.
30 seconds or less. The survey that we did was by design to be 5 simple questions.
Okay.
It was triage during the second half of 2022 because we are about to enter, Josh, I think, in the RFP process for the consultant firm, like Parenton did.
Yep.
That will guide us starting in January of '23 on the path of the next 2 years. And within that, boy, I wouldn't be surprised if that consultant has postcards going out and it costs the town money. And does this sound familiar? And that the survey that they'll put out there when we start the actual process will have 75 questions. Does that sound familiar?
Okay,
So,
good, all right,
you need to promise you'll start reading my articles.
sorry. I'll go home and do it
Thought
right
we-
now, Tom.
Thought we were closer than that.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So, anybody else want to take the podium? Hey, come on up.
Say a word or two?
Sure.
Quickly, I promise. I'm not gonna
And you just have to give your name and address.
Meredith Green, 1394 Marchner Road, right on the border of Penfield and Webster. I've been working with Diana for a little while, and I do have to admit, I am not up on all the rules and regulations and the history of things, but I do have to agree that what Dottie said about there being something in the code, even though it's defunct at the moment, we need to keep it there because people don't see that they have an option. When a developer comes and says, hey, I'll give you so much money for your 40 acres, 50 acres, 60 acres, and the next thing you know, you're looking at 40, 50, 60 townhomes where there used to be 40 acres of woodland. And that's what happened on the corner of State Road and 250, and we kind of live right next door to that. So instead of 40 acres of woods, we have complete clear-cut townhouses of some kind going in. And everybody says, oh, the roads are so, potholes and the school taxes and the sewers and everything, and we have problem. But then we add 40, 50, 60 townhomes that add 40, 50, 60 families. Granted, anybody wants to live wherever they want to live, but I just don't think that the people that already live there have any kind of say, which, it's not their land, but there should be some consideration made for the people that are already here, paying the taxes, and just having to look at a clear-cut nothing where there was woods, just because someone couldn't afford to pay the property taxes on that property and felt that they had to sell to a developer because they didn't feel like there was any other option. But if we have the option in there, even if we rework it, because we're talking about the history, like the water, I don't remember exactly what it was, but stuff in the code that hasn't been around since the 70s. We should get rid of that, but we also have to look to the future, to see, okay, we had 40 acres on the corner of State Road and 250, it's gone. And that was part of the land that Diana was working to preserve, but it just takes a while and then, oh, it's gone. Because I'm not sure why they sold. They might not have been able to afford taxes or they were retiring, I don't know. But if they had that option, we might still have 40 acres of woods instead of 40 acres of townhomes. So if we get rid of the stuff in the past that doesn't work anymore, there's stuff in the future that we still want to be able to work towards. So I just think we have to look at the future more instead of what else could we stick on this corner as, hey, let's just leave those woods on that corner because it's part of the town, it's part of the feel of the town, it's part of the why everybody moved here in the first place. So if it's looking like downtown Henrietta, it's probably not going to have the same feel as why people moved to Webster in the first place.
Thank you, Meredith.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, I went right to left, unless there's someone behind the beam that I don't see.
No.
All right. The next up is we have two board meeting minutes to consider for approval. I've gone through both of them. I would make a motion that we approve the September 8th, 2022 workshop minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wood? Aye.
I would move that we approve the September 15th, 2022 meeting minutes as submitted by the town clerk.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Oh, I should know this. And you? Miss Bill? I miss you.
Because I was in early in the morning.
Oh, boy.
On Tuesday.
That's how rumors start.
So you were in there about 11, right?
No, I was in at 9:30.
Okay.
But I didn't see his car.
I know you're hiding stuff, by the way. A little worried, so
Oh, boy.
you do in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Have at it, Councilman Cahill, Councilman Abbott.
I reviewed the bills and found everything in order and recommend that we pay them as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And, Paul, you're here tonight, our Finance Director, right? When I got in at noon, I went over the prepaid warrants submitted by the Director of Finance, and I made a motion to approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
Oh, Mary, you slid up there, didn't you?
I did.
All right, does that mean Barb left?
No.
You guys just switched seats, didn't you?
She's hiding behind.
She's hiding behind the post.
That's why they put that there, right?
Yeah, so,
You have pizza in that box?
is this Mary or
No.
Josh? Mary, it's you.
Yeah, and we've talked a few times at town board meetings about the courthouse roof and its lack of insulation. So there's a two-pronged approach of doing insulation on the inside and then also an exterior improvement to put a drip edge to keep the ice damming down. So this is a resolution to sign a contract with Leo J. Roth, who was the low bid on the exterior roof modification. And we did obtain 3 quotes to be compliant with the procurement policy, so we are awarding the low bidder.
Will we be going out for a separate bid for the installation?
We are currently getting quotes on that, so depending on the price of that, hopefully we don't have to do a public bid, so we're seeing how that lands.
Okay.
Any questions for the board or comments?
No, it's just, it's important, it's done before the winter.
Well, I had asked Councilman Cahill to read it because he is kind of the spearheader of all this. So would you not agree, Tim?
Sure. It was a great exercise, a lot of info from everyone. I appreciate all the work that Mary and Derek did. So I would move that town board to approve the town of Webster courthouse corrective actions contract with the supervisor to sign the contract with Leo J. Roth Corporation in the amount of $1,375.
Second?
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cowley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Fleury?
Aye. Is Donna here? Not Donna, Donna Perlo. I got Dean's here, I got you behind Mr. Loretta, and some sight problems here tonight. Well, the next one, Mary, I'll let you take over on this one, and then certainly,
Yeah, so this is a fill permit at 464 Lake Road. It's a home that abuts Lake Ontario. So the backyard just had some shoreline damage from the flooding in 2019. So it's a fill permit to restore the shoreline and provide a steady slope from above the high water level up towards the house. And the resident has worked closely with New York State DEC to scope out the project and has a permit from them to do the work. And I will note that typically fill permits are a 6-month timeline, but because of where we are in the season and the homeowner is not going to start the project until next spring or summer, depending on how wet it is, I'm proposing to do a 12-month permit for the project since it's not going to start for about 6 months.
any comments or questions for the board?
No, it's very thorough,
Yes.
extremely thorough.
Donna, do you want to say anything?
No.
You want to just, okay, well, I make a motion that we approve a full permit at 464 Lake Road for the extended period of 12 months.
Second? Supervisor Fleury?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cowley? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
And is anybody else hiding behind any rooms or pushing? Well, I guess I could have Pat probably start on this. Mary, I know you've been involved. I'll let you guys do it out of the thoughts
I've been
first.
talking a lot, so you can go ahead.
Oh,
It's a highway drive,
yeah?
It is the highway garage. So, this one is the proposal to award a contract for design consulting services for a new highway facility. That we site and building for the facility, as we've discussed previously. The building is undersized and aged out of its useful life. The next step to getting to a better point of being able to remedy that is to have it designed. Once we have a full design of the building, we will be in a better position to acquire grant funds and do a whole variety of different things that are going to lead to us eventually getting this new facility, which is greatly needed due to the condition of the existing one. So the award of this contract is the first big step in that to get the design of the full facility going so that we can be in a better position to take action as soon as possible. Because that's what's needed to avoid some major issues with our ability to serve the town the next few years. So the proposal is to award the MRB group who we used for the preliminary study on the building to assess the current properties we have, the buildings we have, determine the strategy on the best way to use the property we have efficiently. After working with them and through the selection of them in the first process, it was clear that they have a tremendous amount of experience and are highly qualified to do this exact type of building. Based on that, we reached out to them for a proposal for the rest of the design. We've worked with them closely on this exact scope. And actually were able to reduce the overall dollar amount pretty significantly during the process as working with them. So this award here, in my opinion, is a very good value for a highly qualified design engineer that will be our best partner as we move forward.
Mary, do you have anything else for this?
No, I think I did a wonderful job explaining it. Yeah, MRB definitely is impressive to work with, and it is a big project. It's 28 acres that we're modifying. It's over 80,000 square feet of building, so it's a big project and it's gonna take a good teammate to get through it, so.
Yeah, and I will just say this, that between Councilman Abbott and Mary Harrington, our town engineer, and Pat Stevens, our highway superintendent, the last few months, what they have done and really sharpened the pencil with MRV and some other suitors that we had looked at for this. I know that's a big number for the public to see, $967,000. It's a lot bigger number. And the talent of those three people and how they managed that it saved the town a lot of money. Paul, I will say this, it's not like we cut a check tomorrow for $967,000.
No, this will be spent over time. I don't know how long, Mary, this process will take up to a year, right?
Hopefully not that long, don't tell Pat that. But yes, this is probably 6 to 10 month process to get us through the bidding and design for the project.
Given the presentation that Pat did several weeks ago, this project is long overdue, and the picture is told the whole story. It's, I'm glad we're going down this road. We should have probably started going down this road long time ago, in my opinion, based on your presentation. So thank you for that. And Bill, Mary, thank you for all the work that you've done getting us started down that road.
Any other questions? Bill, you want to?
I would like to speak to the resolution to award MRB Group the highway facility project for design through bidding engineering and architectural consultant services in the amount of $967,675 and authorize the supervisor to sign said contract.
Second?
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Wynn? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. All right, away we go on that, huh, Pat?
Very excited.
All right.
This is excited face.
Very excited.
Wait a minute. Is this Pat? Or Charlie?
We're talking about the Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe.
Josh is over three.
This is before it's already was.
Yeah, as the board may recall, last fall, the former landowner of this particular property, Mr. Naka, had approached the town board. He had an interested buyer for a portion of the land that he owned. It was a past proposed section of the Chigwell North development in Woodford Green that never was constructed. So it was a 13.5 acre parcel. He proposed to subdivide and sell off approximately 3 acres to the Solomonos so that they could construct a home. And he ultimately ended up dedicating the remaining 10 acres to the town of Webster. And in order to accomplish that subdivision of land, which was essentially going to create a landlocked parcel, an ingress and egress easement needed to be incorporated into the subdivision. Now that the sale has gone through and the dedication has taken place, the Solomonos are back asking for the town board to abandon that access easement. I'll also note that the 10 acres that were dedicated to the land is contiguous to 2 other open space areas that are already under town control. So we do not have any concerns with abandoning the easement for public access.
Embarrassed that I asked the meeting because I was talking to Matt and his dad outside before the meeting, so I should have. Any questions, comments about
Just to be clear, that it initially was proposed of perhaps 3 homes going in there?
I believe it was even more than that originally.
It's been reduced to 1.
Correct. And this is another good example of other ways that the town is able to acquire open space.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, 10 acres. granted an ingress egress easement at 370 Fleury Trail, tax ID number 050.04-1-51.131.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynch? Councilwoman McCollum?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Just one comment before going to the next matter on this one. The description, which is going to be attached to both the resolution and to the deed, which I will prepare, and I'll get into the Solomon House, states that it's an ingress, egress, and utility easement. The utilities are not being abandoned. Utilities lie under this particular easement. This was a special easement that was granted only in 2021. So the easement that we are abandoning is 25-foot ingress, egress. Correct. I just want that to be on the record. That would be what we are abandoning. We have a map, and we have a meets and bounds description.
That follows with everything?
Yes.
Thank you, Jared. And one last thing. Matt, what does your wife do for a living?
She's a nurse.
Man, is she organized.
Yes,
gotta
I
tell
know.
you.
It helps.
It's unbelievable. She's a nurse. I was thinking accountant. Okay. I'm sure she runs a very good ER or whatever nursing she does. All right. I take it that this is our friend Brayden Connor, right? Where are we going to have you sit, Brayden? Oh, you take the podium. Over Webster, Town of Webster's Director of Personnel, Brayden Connor, will describe this next resolution.
This is the occupational medicine one?
Yes.
Okay. So, Town of Webster conducts pre-employment drug testing and physicals for hires, as well as has needs for things like return to work and second opinion physicals. We have used a company called Pulse Team Health for well over a decade, and they are leaving the Rochester market. And they gave us a relatively short notice on that. They've been in some sort of business partner with RRH, and that dissolved. So I surveyed local municipalities and sent out an RFP to 6 businesses that specialize in occupational medicine that all have work with the public sector. And I'm recommending that WellNow be our new occupational provider. They were best qualified based on cost, location, hours, speed of results, and reporting technology. Everything will be done online, and we, in most cases, will have results back before the patient leaves the clinic. And the clinic they have clinics around the county, but the one that is closest is on the corner of Empire and Bay. Webster zip, not Town of Webster.
Right. Any questions? Comments? Before I vote on this, can you stay up there? Because I'm going to switch order and go to number 8 after this. And just let Brayden stay up there and maybe have a So I make a motion to, I can't do this.
So I would make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign a professional services agreement for occupational health services with WellNow.
Second.
Councilwoman McCollum?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynch? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And we're going to jump down to number 8 because Brayden will also describe this, and certainly rather come up.
Sure.
Okay. So this is the 8th item on the agenda tonight regarding Bolanos Grove LLC for legal services.
So the Town of Webster has an engagement agreement, long-standing with a very good labor attorney. That labor attorney is leaving private practice, and so therefore we need a replacement. I've had the good fortune of working with Bolaños Low firm and its predecessors. And so I made that recommendation to the town supervisor and also in consultation with the chief of police. Attorney Bolaños, Carly Bolaños is here with us and can give a brief background, but she practices nearly exclusively in public sector work, in labor and employment law, represents multiple towns in Monroe County, including towns with police departments, which is a very specialized form of labor relations. And she also represents school districts and counties across New York State, and has, well, I won't quote the number of years because I'll misquote.
Hi, thanks. I just thought I'd stop by tonight in case people wanted to meet me, if you have any questions about what I do. But as Brayden indicated, I specialize in municipal labor and employment, primarily counties and towns. I have in the past worked with school districts, but my focus is counties and towns and all of their labor and employment issues. I've only represented management. I don't represent unions because of the work that I've been doing for 25 years, representing management with public sector labor relations. I own my own firm. I'm the majority owner of Bolaños Low. We're a very small boutique labor and employment firm. I left a large corporate law firm in 2019, right before the pandemic hit. I thought that would be a good time to open my own business. But it turned out that COVID, actually people needed a lot of my help during COVID, so I got lucky. But it was probably a really bad time to open a business at the end of 2019. But we've been doing great, and we represent most of the large counties across the state of New York.
Any comments or questions?
No, thank you for attending
Thank
tonight. It's nice
Yeah, I
to
want to
meet
meet
you.
everybody and show my face, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. Thank you. Thank you.
And Carla, like I said, I know you talked to our police chief, Dennis Coleman.
Yes.
And I saw Dennis earlier and I said, hey, did you get a chance, we're doing this resolution possibly, did you get a chance to talk to Carla Bolaños? And he just went,
Thumbs up from the
Good.
chief of police.
you should approve that resolution.
Oh, thank you very much for his confidence. He was great to work with. He seems like a really good police chief, and I've worked with some that aren't so good. But he seems great. Most of my practice is with the chiefs and the sheriffs across the state because there's so many issues with the police department. So it's my favorite part of my work is working with the police chiefs and the sheriffs for jails, for road patrol, and then like for your police departments. That's the exciting part of my work, I think. He's great. He was very thorough, very smart, and we worked through that issue. Pat Nealon asked me to take all of the towns that he had for police, so I did. I'm going to be working with his other clients as well.
Right.
I worked with Pat back when Brayden and I were working at Monroe County. Pat actually represented the road patrol deputies. So I worked across the table with Pat, and he was a wonderful lawyer then and still is today. So I was honored when he called me and asked me if I'd be able to meet his clients.
That's great.
So I would move to authorize the supervisor to sign an engagement agreement with Bolaños Low LLC for legal services related to labor and employment matters.
Second.
Councilwoman Tolley?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Fleury?
Aye.
Well, thank you very much. We'll be honored to serve you. So
Well, thank
anything
you.
you need, we'll be here to help. Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Yeah,
I mean,
my
that's,
pleasure. Thank you.
Art, I hope you didn't take it wrong and we kicked you down. Yeah, well. All right.
Engage the attorney to see.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So Art, should I have somebody else describe this instead of you to really get on your bad side? Or?
I was actually going to have that interview.
Were you?
She left.
She's very convincing.
She is. So Supervisor, this is a update of the sewer lateral maintenance policy for the town of Webster. It is as simple as that. The original policy was approved on January 19th, 1993. So this update is more clarification, wording, and just a little bit easier to read than the 27-year-old version, 29-year-old version
Charlie had offered some advice on it. We also reached out to Joe Greasy. So we think it's a much better document than we had almost 30 years ago.
I don't know if there's really, I know Patty, you've been involved in this. Well,
Councilman Evans, Ms. Marovia. I just want to say that we're just really looking at taking this out. When I look at the first version from 1993, it says if the town of Webster feels. So it doesn't seem to have too much strength behind it. And thank you, Art. I know that we've been on this for quite a while looking to clean this up, and I appreciate the work that both you entities have done on it. I would move, where did it go? I would move to update the town of Webster sewer lateral maintenance policy that was originally accepted on January 18, 1990.
Second.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Supervisor Cleary?
aye. And, you know, as long as, I'm gonna make it up to you, Art. Can we jump to number 10, because I think 10 stays in the genre of sewers, Charlie?
I think so, in this
Yeah,
case, yeah.
and I think that you probably can tackle this with Art, if you have any,
Well,
we're gonna jump down to 10. You can.
sort of set up this board heard regarding labor in a very, very specialized area, especially dealing with the public sector and especially dealing with police departments. The town hall, I've attended here for a long time, has always had a separate outside counsel for labor law issues. Because of an area that the town is going into, which is relatively new and relatively rare, the energy performance contracting and the issues that come with that, we have decided to engage a firm, just for advice at this point, a firm which has experience in energy performance contracting and with a number of municipalities and a number of school districts around the state. And my understanding is that our contractors work with this particular firm, correct?
They have work across the table from them as well.
Yes.
And
we've met them both personally. We've met the main partner of the firm, Bill Buchanan, personally, and we've had discussions with him through video conferencing as well. In any event, we have entered into, or proposing to enter into a contract with him to give us a benefit of his advice, counsel, and most of all experience regarding energy performance contracting so that we can move forward with the great projects we have going on down at the sewer.
Is there a copy of the engagement agreement here?
All right, go.
There is not.
You want to see it? I've got it here.
Yeah, just brief.
Sure. It's basically a two-page letter with, that's the original we have.
As Councilman Kale is looking at that, this got added to the agenda, I think, yesterday or Tuesday. When we got the contract template with the appendices from Navitas, our energy performance firm, 700 pages there?
It's a lot.
It's a lot, okay? And they had said they'd get it to us by the end of September. They made good on their word, but we've gotten used to that, and we've had to do as they say as they do. And Charlie and I have been talking about this, as Patty's been in these conversations there, and it's like, Charlie, you're a phenomenal attorney, but like you said, this is such a specific type of law. And, you know, we need...
Well, it's a question too of going with somebody who has already used it, been involved in it.
Right.
There is very little, and I did research on it when we first got involved, and there's almost no case law on this, almost none. We are dealing with, basically, in deciding to exercise this option, we're going to be dealing with the state, and the state bureaucracy. And consulted a bit with Paul too, because the concern would be, I think, with the controller's office, right, Paul? If we had any issues.
Yeah.
So-
We want to be sure that we do everything properly.
Yes. We're going to try to be as error-free as possible. So, one more brain added to this with all the.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a fantastic idea. If you want to have someone who experiences, specializes in this area, the only other question I've asked is, from a cost standpoint, is there any, what are we looking at potentially?
Well, it's,
Probably don't have any idea.
No, we don't.
Other municipalities, have other municipalities.
he's charging $250 an hour, which is not.
No, that's very
unseasonable.
reasonable.
I mean,
No,
his,
it's reasonable.
his firm, if you look at the firm, particularly him, he's the senior partner charging $400 an hour.
Sure.
Which I expected would be the case, but he's charging us $250. And we'll use him as.
That's a very good rate.
And it is. I'm not surprised.
As the supervisor said, I've been in many of the meetings simply because I'm a liaison to the sewer department. And from the conversations that we've had, I think that his time and advice is going to be well worth the money that we spend.
I don't doubt that. Just
So,
curious as to.
I think it's great that you're asking these questions. The unknown.
Well, yeah, I didn't know whether from the historical standpoint, what other municipalities expect during this process. That's, just curious.
It's funny, and when you said the other side of the table, because I was like, well, Navitas, you introduced us to this guy, obviously there's a conflict of interest. He's represented you before, he can't represent us. They're like, no, he's never represented us. We met him because he represented another municipality, and they were so impressed by, he was tough but fair, is I think what they said.
well, and his area of expertise also is energy.
Right, so.
So I would authorize the supervisor to sign an engagement agreement with Buchanan Sutter PC for legal services related to energy performance contracts.
Second.
Councilwoman Cosarelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Cleary?
Aye. All right, now we'll back up to 9, which is Josh.
Yeah, I can give a brief overview, and we actually have the applicant here as well. So this is the first step in a multi-step process. The applicant is seeking a special use permit and referral to the planning board to locate for her rough day dog spa and training center at 1085 Gravel Road. I believe she's currently located just on the other side of the municipal line in Penfield on Empire, and she's hoping to relocate to this particular location. It does trigger the need for a special use permit and a referral to the planning board for site plan review.
Any questions from the board? And it certainly, so you did come in. Well, I'm glad we're gonna hear from you tonight.
I wasn't speaking on the other things. I'm
That's
sorry.
true.
Good evening, board members. I'm David Cox with Pastoral Associates, civil engineer, and also with me is Amy Holtz with Rough Day Resort. So I'll just be really brief, and Amy can fill in anything. But as Josh was saying, yes, currently she's located at 1999 Empire Boulevard, which is just a little bit north of Wegmans there, and there's not really any room for growth there. So she found this location just a quarter mile up the road to the north, 1085 Gravel Road. It's a much better property that has more room for outdoor and parking and unloading and loading. And also, right now, it's right on Empire, or existing right on Empire Boulevard, so, when dogs are getting out of the vehicles, Empire Boulevard's right there, with cars whizzing by. So off of gravel, it's much quieter, much better for the, for dogs coming in and out and getting dropped off there. And she also does work with Webster Police and Animal Control has services through that, so she provides that service to the town as well. And she's very excited about this new property that will help to grow her business and expand. COVID has definitely grown the pet industry humongously with veterinary services and daycares and resorts and things like that. It's just a growing business, and there's definitely a need. I just got a dog last year, and every time you call a vet or a daycare or pet grooming, we're not taking new customers, no new customers, you know, and you're like, man, it's kind of hard to find places, so there is definitely the need. I don't know if Amy, you wanted to share anything else?
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. Thank you for hearing us tonight. One of the things I was mentioning, often when my business is brought up, we're called the kennel. And I think that anybody who steps into our resort will see that we're not a kennel. And I think that animals today are people's babies, and we like to treat them as such. We spoil them. They're not put in a kennel. They're not put in a run. They're not put on concrete. So I think a lot of times when people think of a kennel, which is what the agricultural department calls us, that's not what you see when you walk into Rough Day Resort. And I would invite any one of you to stop inside my lobby. You're not going to smell dog poop. You're not going to see dog hair. A lot of times people are like, what are you going to do about the smell? What are you going to do about the noise? And I will tell you that it's non-existent. I built Rough Day Resort on the basis of being a dog trainer. And when I went into other facilities here in the Webster area, I did not like what I saw or heard. It was a very stressful environment, and I would never leave my pets there. So that's where Rough Day came to be. And I think Ginny actually has been into my facility, and I have had the opportunity to spoil Colby. So it's important for people to know when they leave town that their dog is well cared for. And we have just entered into a relationship with the Webster Police Department as well as Animal Control. And Barb would tell you that I'm a big stickler that no, you can't come in, Barb, during this time. No, you can't do that because we're big on safety. So we're just looking forward to expanding into a location that can hold everything in one place. As a dog trainer currently, I'm training therapy dogs for Rock Dog, which is a local therapy group, and I'm having to rent space currently in Ontario on Lincoln Road as well as from Country Max to hold my training classes because I don't have enough space where I am. In addition to that, I'm renting space off of Gravel Road for storage. So by putting everything onto Gravel Road, that would put me all in one place, which would be very nice.
Has an application been made to a planning board?
Not yet.
Yes,
Not
yes.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for site plan.
Correct.
Okay.
And when are they scheduled?
October 18th.
All right. Any questions or comments?
No, I have to just announce that I have to abstain from the vote, and I have to also abstain from any interaction questions, in that I work for the owner of that building, and my office is actually there. It's my duty to uphold the
That's why when I looked up the address, yes, okay. Well, thank you.
I wish you well.
Okay.
Well, then I would like to make a motion to consider a special use permit and refer to the planning board for site plan review associated with the proposed dog kennel at 1085 Gravel Road.
Second. Supervisor Cleary?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cato?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Capaldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Thank you very much.
I knew we'd get you up at the podium, man. I just didn't know it was you.
If Mr. Cahill, if you like dogs, we would welcome you to your office there.
Well, I can testify, you know, you have a wonderful facility, and very smooth, very professional, and people are very, very nice.
I do love dogs, so I'm gonna take out.
Yeah, right.
Plus, my office is in the basement.
Yeah.
That's where mine's gonna be as well, so you can go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got three more, and these are a little bit of housekeeping. Unless any of the board members have any comments or questions on these last three, make a motion to declare the following items as surplus from the Webster Justice Courts: a Brothers Laser fax machine, asset number 06593, a desk chair, asset number 03190, a a desk chair, asset number 03037, a desk chair, asset number 03192, 12 slant arm courtroom chairs, asset number 03063, and is this the number?
Yes.
71 straight arm courtroom chairs, asset number 03062.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Rizaldi? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
Josh, just because this is a little bit bigger than a chair.
Sure. Yes, this next item looks to declare two vehicles for our department, a 2008 Ford F-150 pickup truck and a 2007 Ford F-150. As two of our new enterprise leased vehicles have arrived, we're now looking to trade these vehicles.
And Enterprise is going to handle the sale.
That is correct.
So Paul, we're going to get our first look at,
Yeah, this is our first test drive. We'll see how the numbers compare to the original projections.
yeah, I know that you, and I'm glad you did, you cut those down by almost half in the original projection.
I did.
Yeah, I love it when you do that.
I hope you prove me wrong.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if they come in pretty high.
Well, yeah.
The used market
I
right
think
now
they'll be
for
very-
trucks is through the roof.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Make a motion to declare the following items for auction from the Engineering and Community Development Departments, formerly the Department of Public Works. 2008 Ford F-150, asset tag numbers 3392, and 2007 Ford F-150, asset tag number 3380.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Rizaldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
You gotta tell me about this Toro Groundmaster car.
It's a 72-inch, 20-year-old out-front mower that has a lot of welds and fixes and plates on it.
20 years old. There you have it.
Yeah, just in case anyone thinks it was
Illegal.
spent and abandoned, it's a
Huh?
2007, 2008 truck and a 20-year-old mower.
Yeah.
I think it's actually.
Well, with that being said, make a motion to declare the following item for auction from the Sewer Department, a Toro Groundmaster, asset tag number 3878.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Rizaldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye. All right, I'll let the phone open for 5 minutes. Oh, shoot, that's me calling. How about the do not disturb? And we'll do the round, the bend here. We got a lot of people tonight, so we'll start with Mary.
Sure, I was down at Sandbar Park today. All of the paving and curbing is complete within the roadway. So they're still working on some utility work along the side of the road, so it's gonna remain as one-way traffic for a few more weeks, but it will be striped and open to two-way traffic by the time the bridge is open for vehicles. So it looks a lot different than it did a month or so ago.
I didn't touch it. Karen doesn't let me touch it. Says I break things.
Also pushing those buttons to answer.
Yeah, I didn't touch anything.
Oh, it just stopped?
It just stopped, so. Paul?
A week from tonight, Tom, we have our 2023 budget hearing at 7:30 p.m. on October 13th. So that's the biggest news. Hope everybody tunes in. Feel free to come up and speak.
Yeah, yes. Well, okay. Yeah. Josh?
We have a public open house meeting coming up for the West Webster Hamlet Revitalization Plan. It's going to be held at Liberty Lodge on October 26th between 5 and 7 p.m. It'll be an open house style meeting, so folks are welcome to stop in whenever is convenient for them, and they can visit a series of stations and interact with the project team and provide their feedback on the work that's been done to date.
And along those lines, October 11th is when the judge is looking
ruling on the temporary control of 600 Ridge Road in the form of production furniture strippers. And assuming, knock on wood, temporary control is issued in Monroe County, we will follow up with doing phase 2 environmental testing on that property, probably sometime in late October or November. So milestone event.
Are notifications going out on the cell phones and through us for that meeting? Because I know I get asked quite often what's going on in West Westford, that corner.
Yes, we will be highly publicizing through all of our social media, and we'll also be utilizing the consultant's webpage that was open in July. Over 800 folks, unique visitors, so we will be utilizing all of those mechanisms to promote this public meeting.
Great, thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, so we're very excited that after tonight we'll be able to start moving through the design process in the highway facility. As far as stuff around town, we will be out on the roadways working to finish up our seasonal stuff on our roadways and the county stuff. You'll see us out on State Road, Lake Road, and possibly Salt Road, doing some improvements for the county. Trying to get those things wrapped up before we start leaf pickup. Leaf pickup will not begin until the end of October. Watch the website for exactly when we will begin, but sometime right around the holiday, we will start at least low levels of pickup, depending on how much is fallen, and then increase from there through November. That hasn't begun yet, but it will soon.
Braden, I don't want to short you. Do you want to come up and? I knew you would. A microphone and Braden. That's about pot calling yellow black, I shouldn't say.
I just want to encourage everyone to check out the employment opportunities page on the town website. The town is actively seeking seasonal, fall and winter highway employees. That's a good way to earn some money and get your foot in the door for a potential permanent position with the highway department. We're also recruiting for a full-time GIS technician position and a part-time clerk position in the assessment department, and we're always open to applications for various roles at the recreation department. So I encourage anyone who's interested in public service to give us a try.
Thanks, Braden. I'm biased, but I think the town is a good place to work. Art?
Yes. Let's see, what's going on with the sewer department? Lately, we've been dealing with a rash of repairs, failures, so the staff is working on those. Like Pat's crew and the Park and Rec staff, we're quickly getting ready for winter. We'll be touching every one of our 22 pump stations, getting those prepped. Really good.
Jenny?
Hi, I just want to remind people that our book sales for the Webster Library is going on right now, so please come and get your books. And also to stop by the Webster Museum and check out our Webster history, and you enjoy it. Thank you so much, and hope everyone have a wonderful night.
I always look forward to this.
I know, it's always interesting, isn't it? Well, in that it is leaf season, it is also hunting season. And the reason I bring that up is twofold. Number one, for all those hunters out there, please be hunting safe, be careful, and enjoy the time with your family, your children out there. The other facet is, in that it is hunting season, there's going to be a lot of deer movement, especially across the roads. Not only in the town of Webster, but throughout the rural areas. So you'll see a lot of movement, especially in dusk. So please be aware that this is the season that they're going to be moving next few months quite a bit.
Bill?
Well, I was going to talk about Sandbar Park because I was down there, did a tour, but that got taken care of. The highway garage is already taken care of, so my two areas that I'm concerned with are already spoken about tonight.
We're going to talk about hunting, weren't you?
And the assessing department is moving forward and seems to be working well with the new employee we have there. Staff now for a little while. And Parks and Rec, does have a deer application permit to hunt with bow. And you need to check out that, is that with you, Dolly, or is that at Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec.
Chris did a nice job sending out notifications on that also. It's a great program, it really is. You have to show proficiency with a bow before you're allowed to enter that program. But it's a great bow program.
I'm disappointed. I thought that Councilman Abbott was going to announce tonight that he wants to chair the comprehensive plan committee. Anyway,
I think you should say a while ago.
For anybody, you did the last two comprehensive plans?
Yes.
So you've done your time.
I've done my shit.
You've done your time. That's Charlie.
Happy Columbus Day.
Hey, that's right. And you know, we always have a Dolly, so.
So the town is collecting full tax, school tax payment only. Any installments, the second and third have to be made down.
Okay. Well, unless nobody called, this. Oh, yes, we are, it will come out in the paper, whatever. We will not be having the October 20th regular town board meeting. We're going to move that to October 27th. We won't have a town board workshop on October 27th. We will have a regular town board meeting 3 weeks from tonight. Myriad of reasons why. Charlie, you said based on time frames and all that, that's completely appropriate.
And that will be at 7:30.
7:30 on October 27th.
And again, next week is going to be 7:30, not the usual 5.
7:30 next, the 13th, next week is one item, public hearing for the preliminary 2023 town budget. And then, like I said, October 20th, for a myriad of reasons, we will not be having any town board or workshop. On the 20th, no meeting. Meeting, yes. And with that being said, Charlie, this meeting is officially adjourned.
On the 27th, are you going to address at Halloween?
Address Halloween?
Dress for Halloween.
Am I going to dress for? Well, you know, let's say, you know
what? Braden's taught some very nice things about you. Here's my card, so. Yes. I'm sure I'm taking. Thank you. I wear some, yeah, fabulous stuff. Oh, that's good. I used to work in the county many years ago.
Well, my wife, she did mom-in-law's. I'm just saying, I was impressed.
18 minutes.
Good one.
Yeah, well, 6 months ago, it was my hand.